Amazonia Salvaje is a land ruled by predators. A jaguar, the strongest hunter in the rainforest, silent, patient, and powerful enough to crush the skull of its prey with a single bite. A green anaconda, the giant of the flooded forests. It does not chase, it waits, then strikes with overwhelming strength, turning still water into a deadly trap. A black caiman, the ruler of Amazonian rivers. Beneath the calm surface, it watches every movement, ready to ambush anything that comes too close. Three predators, three different strategies: strength, patience, and precision. But even the most feared hunters face challenges. Every hunt can fail. Every mistake can be costly. In the Amazon, survival is never guaranteed. What makes these animals so successful? How do they dominate one of the most dangerous ecosystems on Earth? And what lessons can we learn from the way they hunt, adapt, and endure? Today we journey into the heart of Amazonia Salvaje to uncover the true nature of its most iconic predators. Welcome to Nature's Animals. What truly makes a predator powerful? Strength, size, or the ability to survive? Welcome to Amazonia Salvaje, one of the most dangerous ecosystems on Earth. Here, every animal faces the same challenge: find food or become food. The jaguar is the undisputed king of the rainforest. Hunting alone, it relies on stealth, patience, and the strongest bite of any big cat relative to its size. It can crush a caiman's skull and pierce a turtle's shell. But even the jaguar fails. A missed attack means wasted energy, and repeated failures can lead to starvation. In the Amazon, even the king must earn every meal. The green anaconda follows a different path. One of the largest snakes on Earth, it doesn't chase prey, it waits. Hidden beneath the water, it ambushes capybaras, birds, caimans, and even deer. Its greatest weapon is patience. Yet despite its size, young anacondas are vulnerable to birds of prey, caimans, and larger predators. Then there is the black caiman, the apex predator of Amazonian rivers. Growing over 5 meters long, it dominates the water through silence and precision. Most of its success comes not from speed, but from remaining perfectly still until the right moment arrives. In the Amazon, patience is often deadlier than force. Science classifies these animals as apex predators, but their survival depends on more than strength. Each relies on adaptation, timing, and resilience. Today, their greatest threat is no longer other predators. It is habitat loss, deforestation, pollution, and environmental change. As the Amazon shrinks, so do their chances of survival. Perhaps that's the real lesson of Amazonia Salvaje. The jaguar teaches persistence. The anaconda teaches definitive. The black caiman teaches the power of silence. In the end, survival does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to those who can adapt. Welcome to Nature's Animals, where every creature tells a story of survival. Among all the predators of Amazonia, Salvaje none appears more confident than the jaguar. It moves through the rainforest like a shadow given life, silent, patient, unseen. With a bite powerful enough to pierce a turtle's shell and crush the skull of a caiman, it seems almost unstoppable. To the animals of the Amazon, the jaguar is not merely a hunter. It is a warning hidden within the darkness. Yet appearances can be deceiving, because the greatest fear in the life of a jaguar is not another predator. It is a future where its cubs have nowhere left to roam. Every hunt begins with patience. The jaguar may spend hours moving through tangled roots, flooded forests, and dense vegetation, studying every movement of its prey. A capybara grazing near the riverbank, a peccary wandering too far from the herd, a caiman resting at the water's edge. Then comes the moment that decides everything, a burst of speed. A single leap, a single bite, and sometimes, despite all its strength, the hunt fails. The prey escapes. The opportunity vanishes, and the energy spent can never be recovered. Scientific studies reveal that even skilled predators fail far more often than they succeed. In the Amazon, strength alone does not guarantee survival. Hunger waits for every mistake. It is a lesson strangely familiar to our own lives. We often admire success, but rarely witness the failures that came before it. We celebrate the victory, yet overlook the countless attempts hidden behind the final result. The jaguar understands a truth that many humans spend years learning. Failure is not the opposite of survival. Sometimes failure is the path that leads to it. And in the endless rainforest, where every meal must be earned, the king of the Amazon rises once again, stepping quietly back into the shadows in search of another chance. Among all the predators of Amazonia Salvaje, few are as respected as the jaguar. It moves through the rainforest like a shadow, silent and unseen. To the animals of the Amazon, its presence alone is a warning. At first glance, the jaguar seems fearless, and for good reason. Known scientifically as Panthera onca, it is the largest cat in the Americas. Adult males can weigh over 120 kilograms and reach nearly 2 meters in length. Unlike most big cats, jaguars are powerful swimmers and skilled hunters in both forests and rivers. Their bite force exceeds 1,500 pounds per square inch, the strongest relative to body size among all big cats. With a single bite, they can pierce a turtle's shell or crush a caiman's skull. Yet even a predator this powerful faces a constant challenge: failure. The hunt was over. For the jaguar, a failed hunt is more than a missed opportunity. It means wasted energy and a greater risk of hunger. Like most predators, jaguars fail more often than they succeed. The rainforest rewards results, not effort. This is the reality of the jaguar's life. It is powerful, but power does not guarantee success. Many people see apex predators as unstoppable hunters. Nature tells a different story. Jaguars survive not because they always win, but because they keep hunting after failure. That persistence is what makes them successful. Today, however, The jaguar faces a threat greater than any prey. Its habitat is disappearing. Deforestation, agriculture, roads, and human expansion continue to reduce and fragment the forests it depends on. Across the Americas, jaguars have already lost a large portion of their historical range, making survival increasingly difficult. The jaguar's story reveals a simple truth. Strength alone is never enough. Survival belongs to those who adapt, endure, and keep moving forward after failure. Even the king of the rainforest must fail before it learns how to survive. But while the jaguar teaches that survival demands the courage to rise after failure, another predator hidden within the flooded forests of Amazonia Salvaje survives through a very different principle. It waits. The green anaconda does not chase prey across great distances. It does not rely on speed. It does not waste energy proving its strength. Instead, it trusts time. Scientifically known as Eunectes murinus, the green anaconda is among the heaviest snakes on Earth. Large females can exceed 6 meters in length and weigh more than 100 kilograms. Yet, despite its enormous size, the anaconda spends much of its life doing almost nothing at all. To many animals, stillness means vulnerability. To the anaconda, stillness is power. In the shallow waters of a flooded forest, a young capybara steps away from its family. The river appears safe. The water barely moves. But beneath the surface, a pair of eyes has been watching for hours. The anaconda does not rush. It does not reveal itself. It waits for the moment when success becomes more likely than failure. Then everything changes in seconds. The attack is brief. The waiting is not.
Here, nature is not only beautiful, it is fierce and full of challenges. Massive herds of wildebeest and zebras migrate hundreds of kilometers each year, crossing rivers and parched earth in search of water and fresh grazing lands. Meanwhile, lions, leopards, and cheetahs lie in wait, ready to strike the moment a single misstep betrays their prey. Towering African elephants roam in search of food and water, unintentionally forging paths for many other species to follow. Birds, reptiles, insects, and countless other small creatures all contribute to a wild symphony of life, forming an intricate web that is as delicate as it is astonishing. The savanna is not just a cradle of life, it is a living testament to the law of survival of the fittest. In this vast arena, every creature, from the mightiest beast to the tiniest insect, plays a vital role in the ecological chain. This is the thundering heart of the wild, a place where time seems to slow, and nature whispers stories that have echoed across millions of years. Beneath the blazing sun of the African savanna, where every creature struggles to survive, a silent army moves steadily toward its prey. No roaring, no chaotic chase, just disciplined warriors operating like an unstoppable hunting machine. The African wild dogs. Don't be fooled by their lean appearance. When a pack of African wild dogs arrives, it's no longer a hunt. It's an execution signed in advance. With tightly coordinated pack hunting strategies, each member has a role: the leader, the flanker, the ambusher. Every strike is precise, every step calculated, and the result? A staggering success rate of up to 80%. The highest among all carnivores in the animal kingdom. During the breeding season, only the dominant female is allowed to give birth, to ensure that the group's resources are not dispersed. After about 70 days of gestation, she gives birth to 6 to 16 young in a secluded den, often an abandoned badger or hyena den. During the first weeks, the group focuses on protecting and feeding the mother and her young, bringing back pre-chewed prey to help the young digest. The young begin to leave the den after about 3 weeks and gradually learn to participate in social life, hunting, guarding, and communicating in their own language. Can you imagine it? A strong, healthy antelope brought down in mere minutes, not by brute force, but by lethal intelligence and deadly unity. These are no ordinary hunters. They are the death squad of the savanna, the rulers of daylight in this kingdom of blood and dust. Do you have the guts to follow their every move? Under the scorching sun of the Savannah land and life gradually falls silent, that's when true terror awakens. Quiet, soundless, and without warning. Beneath the dry underbrush, hidden among seemingly harmless twigs, a deadly assassin waits. The puff adder, one of the most dangerous venomous snakes in all of Africa. Don't be fooled by its sluggish appearance. One wrong move, just 0.25 seconds, and it's already too late. With a lightning-fast strike and an incredibly potent venom, the puff adder is one of the leading causes of snakebite fatalities in Africa. It doesn't need to chase, doesn't need to show off. It simply waits. And then, like a death sentence rising from the earth, it strikes in an instant. When light and darkness collide, it's not a time for rest. It's the golden hour for predators that exist between worlds. They belong neither today nor tonight. These double-edged creatures move to a rhythm of their own, striking without mercy during the fleeting transition between dusk and dawn. In the tall grass, a sudden leap shatters the silence. It's the serval, a small but surprisingly deadly wildcat. With its antenna-like ears constantly tuned to its prey, it can leap up to 12 feet, snatching up a snake or rat hidden deep in the grass. Its kill rate, up to 50% far higher than many larger predators. In the wilds of the savannah, power is not just about muscle or size. Sometimes it's silence, precision, and perfect adaptation that are the most terrifying weapons. Think hyenas are just predators? Forget those stereotypes, because the spotted hyena is more than an opportunist. It is a true survival machine, forged over millions of years of evolution in the harshest grasslands on the planet. With its eerie laugh that echoes through the jungle, hyenas declare their territory not through sheer force, but through a brutal matriarchal social system, where the larger, more ferocious females hold sway over the entire pack. Hyenas can rip through a buffalo's thick hide with jaws so powerful they crush and digest bones, skin, and sinew, parts even lions and leopards leave behind. But what truly makes them terrifying isn't just strength, it's their brutal adaptability. When hunting fails, they transform into tireless scavengers, trailing the roars, the scent of blood, and the shadows of other predators, ready to steal whatever remains. In a world where life hangs by a thread, hyenas don't seek glory, they seek survival. And they do it better than any other predator out here. Across the sun-scorched plains of the savannah, where every blade of grass may conceal claws, the greatest weapon isn't fangs or speed, it's beauty. Here roams a creature cloaked in nature's most curious attire, black and white, like the keys of a piano. The zebra, a living work of art in a land ruled by predators. But don't let the stripes fool you. This is a creature of strategy, discipline, and unshakable resilience. No two zebras share the same stripe pattern. Each one is a unique masterpiece, a visual identity that bonds mother and foal, friend and ally. When a leopard lurks in the brush, the zebra is not alone. It lives in herds, moving as one. And when they bolt, the stripes blend into a dizzying illusion, a storm of motion that confuses even the sharpest hunter's eye. But zebras do more than run. They fight. A well-placed kick from an adult zebra can shatter a lion's jaw. And in the fragile days after birth, a zebra mother will isolate her newborn, allowing it to memorize her face, her scent, her voice, their lifeline in the chaos of the wild. Their appearance may whisper peace, but every gallop is a sprint for survival, and every stripe is a secret code against death. In the deadly game of the savannah, zebras choose to endure with unity, agility, and a design nature never meant to hide, but to outwit. Savannah is not just an endless stretch of grasslands. It's a massive lifeline that spans across the African continent, covering up to 65% of its land area. Every blade of grass, every winding stream, every tiny creature plays a vital role in holding together a fragile thread of life in this complex and delicate ecosystem. From the sun-scorched grasslands to winding rivers, from sparse forests to low shrubs, every layer of the savannah is part of a vast biological machine where each species plays an irreplaceable role. Without antelopes, lions would starve. Without hyenas, carcasses would rot across the plains. Without small birds, pests would devastate the entire plant system. This is not just an ecosystem. It's a giant domino chain where the fall of a single piece could bring the entire land crashing down. Are you sure you've truly grasped the fragility hidden beneath Savannah's fierce exterior? Or have you only seen the surface of a land silently balancing itself, every second, every minute, just to avoid vanishing forever? You might think the most fearsome predators of the savannah are lions, hyenas, or crocodiles. Think again. The most ruthless destroyer of this wild land has no claws or fangs. Its name is humanity. In just a few short decades, temperatures in the savannah have surged by 1.2 to 1.5 degrees Celsius, enough to disrupt the biological rhythms of the entire ecosystem. Lions struggle to hunt, cheetahs fail more often in their high-speed chases, and once thriving herds of antelope now scatter in confusion, their breeding cycles thrown into chaos. Same kind turns against each other. Survival overwhelms family affection. Herbivores like antelope and zebras are also facing a survival crisis. The loss of vegetation due to prolonged drought has left them severely lacking food, disrupting their reproduction and weakening entire herds, triggering a domino effect that threatens the collapse of the entire food chain, but still have to wander dozens, even hundreds of kilometers just to find a small remaining puddle of water. Twenty 20% of the savannah is disappearing, not because of time, but due to desertification. Once lush landscapes are being erased from the map, replaced by dust, cracked earth, and a deadly silence. Prey has become so scarce that even the predators are now the ones starving. And then, when nature can no longer sustain itself, wild animals have no choice but to move closer to the human world. Each year, over 200 encounters between humans and wildlife take place, a sobering wake-up call echoing through the conscience of mankind. If we don't act now, the savannah will no longer be a place of life, but a graveyard for the creatures that once ruled the wild. Are you brave enough to face that truth? But there is hope. Around the world, organizations like WWF, Worldwide Fund for Nature, WCS, Wildlife Conservation Society, Panthera, and IUCN are fighting day and night to protect the last survivors. They are raising public awareness. The roar of the lion is no longer just a book, and the footprints on the savannah are not erased by human neglect. As the first seasonal winds sweep across the Serengeti, heralding the arrival of the dry season, the herds grow restless. They sense what their ancestors have etched into their instincts for millions of years. It is time to leave. From the scorched grasslands to the sparse woodlands, the rhythmic pounding of hooves echoes like nature's silent symphony, marking the beginning of the greatest journey on Earth. Beneath the endless African sky, these creatures do not merely move, they fight to survive. Their journey follows no fixed schedule. It is dictated entirely by the rains and the pulse of the grassland. When the first rains fall upon the promised land in the distance, instinct drives them forward, no matter the perils that await. From the parched savannas to the raging rivers, every step is a choice between survival and oblivion. But no one stops. The Great Migration is not just a search for food and water. It is an eternal cycle of life and death, where the strong press on and the weak are forever claimed by the unforgiving land. The scorching sun blazes over the Serengeti, turning the once lush grasslands into a vast barren sea of gold, where every gust of hot wind carries thick clouds of dust, shrouding the horizon in a haze of despair. Thirst tightens its grip on the migrating herds, each heavy step dragging them across the parched earth, where nothing remains but hardship and exhaustion. But stopping means surrendering to the hunters, and so they press on. The sunken eyes of the wildebeest stare ahead, fixed on the last glimmers of water in the distance. They do not know that beyond the shimmering mirage, hidden in the tall grass and along the cracked riverbanks, their predators are waiting. Under the cloak of the Serengeti night, the predators rise. A deep, guttural roar tears through the silence. The voice of the lion, shattering the stillness like a war cry. The herd jolts awake, fear rippling through their ranks. Above, the piercing eyes of hyenas gleam in the darkness, tracking the weak and the weary, those who have fallen behind. There is no need to rush. Their hunger has already done most of the work. A lone calf, separated from its mother, trembles on frail legs in the shadows. And then, in the span of a single breath, it is gone, swallowed by the merciless jaws of the hunt. Its final cries are lost to the vast, indifferent wilderness. Here, there is no mercy. The weak do not get a second chance. But if there is one trial that even the strongest beasts fear, it is the Mara River, the graveyard of the daring. Before them, the churning, murky waters roar like a living monster, waiting to claim its next victim. Dark shadows glide silently beneath the surface. Nile crocodiles, ancient predators that have waited patiently for this moment all year long. Then the first one leaps, and chaos erupts. The herd is thrown into the merciless jaws of nature, hooves thrashing, bodies crashing into one another, a frantic storm of desperation and survival. A wildebeest stumbles midstream. In the blink of an eye, the monstrous jaws clamp down. A violent tug, and the shadow vanishes beneath the current, dragging its prey into the depths, never to return. Hooves pound against the water, panicked cries pierce the sky. Every year, over 250,000 wildebeest and 30,000 zebras perish in these waters. Claimed by the river, the crocodiles, or simply by exhaustion, yet the herd does not stop. Fear cannot halt those who are desperate to survive. They must go on. There is no other choice. In the wild, life is never a given. It is a relentless battle between prey and predator, where only those who adapt best can continue forward. Strength does not come from a single individual, but from the power of the herd. Tens of thousands of wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles do not merely move. They sweep across the savannah like a living flood, an impenetrable wall of survival. When the first one leaps into the raging river, thousands more follow instantly, transforming into a wild storm of chaos, where even the monstrous Nile crocodiles can only seize the unfortunate few who stray too far from the mass. Disorder is their greatest weapon. When the herd moves as one, the hunters lose their advantage, their focus shatters, and countless prey slip through the jaws of death by the narrowest of margins. But survival is not just about numbers. Adaptation is the key. On the Serengeti Plains, no creature embodies the Great Migration more than the wildebeest. They are not merely travelers. They are symbols of endurance, of raw survival instinct. Each year, over 1.7 million wildebeest embark on the same monumental journey their ancestors have undertaken for millions of years. Not because they want to, but because they must. For them, movement is survival. With tireless legs, the wildebeest surge forward like a wild tempest, a relentless wave crashing across the Serengeti. They do not simply run, they charge, reaching speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. They do not stop, do not hesitate, do not look back. Across thousands of kilometers, they traverse scorched lands where the dry season's heat burns through to the bone. They face lions, hyenas, and cheetahs, silent predators lurking in the shadows, waiting for the weakest to fall behind. But their greatest threat does not prowl the grasslands. It waits beneath the surface of the Mara River, hidden, patient, and deadly. When the wildebeest reach the raging river, they stand at the fragile boundary between survival and annihilation. They hesitate, glancing at one another, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Then one leaps. In an instant, the dam breaks. Thousands follow, surging forward like a living tempest, a churning storm of bodies and hooves crashing into the water. Panic erupts. Hooves slam against the current. Desperate cries pierce the air, and beneath the darkened surface, monstrous jaws wait. Each year, thousands of wildebeest are claimed by the river, lost to its depths, dragged under by the merciless grip of the Nile crocodiles that lurk below. But the herd does not stop, because in their world, stopping has never been an option. And when the survivors emerge on the other side, they do not pause, they do not rest, they do not hesitate, because in their world, stopping is when fate delivers its final blow. Beside them, the zebras march on, their sharp eyes scanning the horizon. With vision keener than the wildebeest, they become the sentinels of the migration, spotting lions from afar and sounding the alarm with piercing, echoing whinnies. They never move alone. If one senses danger, the entire herd knows. In this endless journey, awareness is survival, and unity is their greatest shield. On the vast savanna, another predator is watching their every move. The cheetah, the ruler of speed, a deadly ghost gliding on the wind. While lions hunt in prides and hyenas rely on pack strategy, the cheetah is a lone predator, an assassin in silence. It does not wait in the shadows for hours like the lion, nor does it need numbers to overpower its prey like the hyena. All it takes is a few seconds, a handful of strides, and a single precise strike. In the blink of an eye, the chase is over. Through the dust-filled air of the Serengeti, the cheetah's piercing gaze locks onto its target, a lone calf separated from the herd. Its heartbeat quickens, muscles coiling like a loaded spring, every fiber of its being trembling with raw power. Then it launches. In the blink of an eye, the silent plains erupt into a frenzy. The cheetah surges forward, accelerating to a staggering 120 kilometers per hour, faster than any creature on land. Its razor-sharp claws dig into the earth, propelling its body forward like a living arrow, cutting through the wind, closing the distance with terrifying precision. But the cheetah cannot linger. It has only minutes to catch its breath before the hyenas and vultures spot its kill. Speed is its greatest weapon, but not its greatest strength. On the Serengeti, the fastest predator is not the most powerful, and even the deadliest hunter can become the hunted if it hesitates. So it eats quickly, tearing into its hard-earned meal with urgency. Then before the shadows stretch too long, before the scavengers close in, it vanishes, disappearing into the swirling dust, leaving nothing behind but silence. Once again, the Serengeti is swallowed by the night. This journey is not for the weak. In the unforgiving lands of the Serengeti, only the smartest, the strongest, and the most adaptable have a chance to survive. As the last of the herd emerges from the raging Mara River, their breath still ragged, their bodies trembling from the terror they barely escaped. They pause, just for a moment. They scan their surroundings, and for the first time in weeks, what lies ahead is not danger, but promise. Masai Mara unfolds before them like an oasis in the wilderness, where fresh green grass, reborn from the rains, stretches endlessly like a velvet carpet, a sanctuary calling to the weary travelers. After hundreds of kilometers under the scorching sun, after escaping the jaws of relentless predators and braving the deadly waters of the Mara, they have finally arrived. Here, the weary mothers can pause, seeking a safe place to give birth, while the newborns take their first steps, learning to walk, to run, to prepare for the journey they were born to make. But Masai Mara is not the final destination. It is only a temporary sanctuary. When the grasslands are grazed bare, when the winds whisper the return of the dry season, the call of instinct beckons them once more. The journey must continue. And so, the endless cycle continues. They must return to Serengeti, once again braving the trials of nature, once again gambling their fate against the dangers that await. In this untamed land, there is no eternal rest. Only the strong move forward, and the weak are left behind. But Masai Mara is no eternal paradise. The final rains have fallen, the waters begin to recede, and the once lush grasslands wither under the merciless heat of the dry season. Once again, the herd is faced with the only choice nature ever gives them: leave or be left behind. Wildebeest, zebras, gazelles. As if hearing an invisible call echoing through their very blood, they know the journey never truly ends. It only quiets before surging forward once more. As the first hooves strike the cracked earth, the rest follow without hesitation, merging into a surging tide of life, flowing southward, back to Serengeti, where the brutal cycle will begin again. The calves born just months ago are now strong enough to charge forward, stepping into the path their ancestors have walked for millions of years. But within the herd, not all will continue. The old, the wounded, the young too weak to keep pace, they fall behind, their steps growing slower, their fate all but sealed, and they know, the herd knows. Behind them, the darkness waits. Cheetahs, lions, hyenas. Their eyes have been on the skies, watching, waiting for the rains to fade. Now the hunt begins anew. They do not migrate. They do not flee. They simply wait, because they know the great wheel of survival will turn once more, and soon their feast will return.